I've seen a lot of spiritual people saying money is evil. No, money is not evil. People are stupid. In our society that has been based in survival, one of the things that we have is you have to work hard to get something. But actually, you don't always have to get money in order to get something. That's what has been happening to me my whole life. We have been so traumatized by religion that society tried to take away all the magical way of thinking. We are trapped in between dogma or science, and whoever is in the middle is crazy.
I got to see you in certain moments. Enter more of your channel. What is happening in your mind and body in those states?
When I start to enter that state, and that's the moment when weird things happen. Once you have seen something in the core of the universe, some things are impossible to explain. The second that I remember what I have seen, what I have lived, magic happens.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Know Thyself. Today we're going to be diving into how to bridge the spiritual, the material, the mystical, the mundane with dear friend, mystic teacher, general goofball, Matías De Stefano.
Or animal of power.
Yeah, I like that too. Or what did we say last time? Cosmic electrician.
Yeah.
Got
many multidimensional clown.
Multidimensional clown. You got a lot of business card names.
Oh yeah.
So I thought this could be an extension of our last conversation, which I really loved. And just to kind of set the framework, I would love to hear what your thoughts are on the reality of us creating on an individual level, heaven on earth, how our perception on walking this earth can feel very much so like heaven. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about that philosophy and kind of worldview.
Well, the heaven on earth has been one of the first words related to the Atlantean tradition that I received when I was a child, when I was a kid. And this, it was called Atartumti, which means heaven on earth. And I started to call all my talks when I was 21, 22. I designed my talks to explain people under that name, which was all the plan that has been trying to be manifested in ancient times in many different ways. And basically, what we interpret by heaven is like something that is above, and earth something that is below. But when what they were saying, what they were explaining is that both of them create our reality. So what they were trying to do in the past was to build this heaven on earth by building the stars on the planet. So with temples, pyramids, and looking for rivers to do it like if they are the Milky Way. So they put the Milky Way on the rivers. They brought the stars to the ground, and they were like entering each one of the stars to activate the light within. So people could become divine itself here in the matter. We transformed this concept on leaving the planet to go to heaven. So leaving Earth to rise up in another frequency or going to another dimension and these things. But the real thing about heaven on earth is basically how you can become heaven through the tools that the heaven has created, which is matter. So that was the main philosophy or tradition in the past times on making the Milky Way into the matter and you becoming the light within the stars, and recognizing that heaven actually lives within you. So of course that this philosophy explains like the things in a very mythological way, because in that time we couldn't actually say electrons or photons. So today we would say we are all light because electrons move fast around a magnetical field in the proton, neutron. So it creates It creates this space of eternal energy that is moving around, and it's like planets spinning around the suns, and they are creating the matter that we have. So basically, today we can explain it through quantum physics, through the normal physics of the matter. So, but in that time, they could only explain it through the idea of gods and devas, which actually deva means light. So it's another name for photons, but we started to call it like that, and because when we see the stars, we see the light between the stars, we see the shapes, so we put faces on that, we put concepts on it, and suddenly it became mythology and traditions of be one with the everything, go within, and all this spiritual teachings that actually are describing how to go back to the core of an atom, how to go back to the speed of light to see the everything through time and space. So heaven and earth is not, for me, a religious way of saying it. It's basically to understand that matter doesn't exist. It's just a construction of heaven. It's just a perception of light.
I think very much so. As society grows, as our understanding of the world grows, the once thought of heaven as, this place we go to when we die, for a lot of people on their spiritual path starts to die. And you start to realize, it's kind of a travesty to think that there's a place more magnificent than right here. And I think you're very unique. I know you're very unique. And for people that don't know, Matías's background and also understanding for a lot of this comes from his own remembering of different existences and lives and ways of being from those times. And the, zooming out to the macro where we see galaxies and microclusters, we could do the same, zooming all the way into quarks and electrons and how they orbit within us, and, how we are very much so kind of in the middle way, balance between the micro and the macro. And so I would love for you to share, as we understand that the universe is mental, in the Hermetic principle, the first one is mentalism, and how there's an intelligent mind kind of working within all life. So how do you see that people can really open up their perception to start to feel like they actually are living on heaven on earth?
Well, first of all, when we say mentalism, the first law of the universe, that is this network that creates everything, we tend to believe that when we say mind, we refer to the mind as a human. So that's one of the main mistakes that we usually do, because we start to say, oh, whatever I think, I will create. But it's not exactly like that, because when we think something, we usually do it from the perspective of our personality. And our personality is the product of a bigger mind that is connected to many other things that we don't even think about. So the way we interpret mind is very short to what the actual mind is. So in order to arrive to this state of mind that creates everything, the microcosmos, you have to release the idea of a human mind. And for that, that's one of the biggest jobs that we have, which is transcend the personality, allow yourself to think as a plant, allow yourself to think as a sun, as a star, which is totally different. The logics of the quantum realm teach you that mind is not linear, that there's not one thought, that it's a whole network of things. So in order to arrive in balance to the middle point of the macro and the microcosmos, you have to stop thinking as the middle, and you have to become the whole. So it's not me interpreting something, it's me becoming something. And in this becoming, you have to just let yourself to act like a tree, to act like an animal, to act like a human, to act like a planet, to start feeling and recognizing in every movement that when you move, you don't think about what you are doing. And even though the mind is knowing what it's doing, it's moving nerve system, circulatory system, respiratory system, and it's all electrical pulses that moves the energy of the cells that contracts other cells. So it's so complex that when you start to take a moment to meditate, no need to sit like this, but just a moment to think, to take a deep breath and recognize all the things that your mind is doing that you don't actually think, and that are making yourself possible, and how it's connected to everything that is there, like gravity. We are here because of gravity. The pressure that we have from the atmosphere is the one that holds the body together. The atoms, the molecules that we have, every time that we eat, we are actually consuming the minerals from the mountains, the minerals from the sea. So we are the mountains, we are the ocean. So suddenly you stop thinking as a human and you just see yourself as another wave in the entire creation, like a tiny little wave in the ocean. And once you arrive there, you can understand that you are not going anywhere, but everywhere is going through you, which is very different. So you're not going to heaven, you are heaven. It's just that you are just compressed in the human mind, and you cannot see beyond that. You are a drop of water in the ocean, and you think that you are just a drop of water or a cell that created a boundary that separates you from the rest. And so that's why the step-by-step is taking in account that every movement you do, every breath you take, every path, every step you give, everything requires so many things from the environment and from yourself, from that mind that is everything, that is beyond your understanding, is beyond the mind, the human mind.
Yeah. We were briefly talking about this on last week's episode about the difference between intellect and intelligence. And I think that in modern society, we've come to largely over-identify with our intellect, which is like the scientific way to dissect and cut things and to understand them in deeper parts. But with that, you don't create the availability for you to get out of your own way and realize that we are inhabiting such a complex, intelligent body, for example, and then like you're speaking to such an intelligent cosmos that is not like logically understandable in the human mind, which I feel like is where so many of us get stuck.
And the past, let's say the past 300-400 years, we have been so traumatized by religion that society tried to take away all the magical way of thinking, like all the magic of the mind, and tried to analyze everything, like disseminating the reality to see, you see, there's no magic. It's just atoms moving, or just quantum reality. And because of that, we created a school system, a cultural system, a society that is based only into intellect, into don't go crazy, don't imagine, because you have to be realistic. Put your feet on the ground and forget about crazy stuff. So it takes away the magic of the same thing, of the science, the imagination, because every science became because of someone imagining something that it was impossible at that time. So we have created a culture, an education system that teach you that knowledge can be only achieved when you learn it from someone, not from yourself. When you learn it from someone, that it's all written in a book, that you can find it because someone did it before, and there are certain steps, and you have to be realistic, and you have to prove someone else that you already got everything that you needed to know in order to explain reality. So the past 400 years, we have built this culture that took away the ability of our real mind to be intelligent, which is to read between lines. That's what intelligence means in Latin. To read between lines is I don't have to read the whole thing. I just see what is in the middle of it, and I imagine the idea of it. So I can create my own version of it, and eventually I will be manifesting a new reality. Like everyone has done to create whatever we have today. It was just imagining what is in between the lines. If I tell you, with this 1 plus 1 is 2, and you just learn that truth, you forget about all the 1.0000001, 0.00002. So you forget about all the possibilities that are in the middle because someone told you that this is the truth. And that's why intelligence is all that is in between that you cannot see. That is only in the imagination, that is impossible to actually count. Mm-hmm. And so I think that this in between has been taken by religion instead of spirituality for so long that it also became 1 plus 1, a dogma. So that's why we are trapped in between dogma or science, which also is another dogma. And so it's like, and whoever is in the middle is crazy. Whoever is in the middle is like, oh, that's nonsense, that's crazy, they're imagining things. But actually, we are trying to see the middle points between 1 and 1. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the big work that we have for consciousness.
Yeah, and I think as we are growing, science is becoming more and more the contemporary language of mysticism and these things that aren't as logically understandable, but very obviously exist. And I think it can be difficult when people have these subjective experiences within their own consciousness that I say, I have, remember these different things, or I had this experience of that, and it's tough to verify externally in a system that needs the 1 plus 1 and the logical way of kind of deducing things down. And so like from a logical perspective, things do kind of look more materialistic, and it's easy to have more materialism kind of outlook and view on the world. But like you said, there's infinite space in between 2 points. And if you divide a river in half and then divide it in half again and divide it in half again, there's an infinite amount of times you can do that. So there's an infinite amount of points between one end of the river and the other. Yeah. And, as Rumi said, we're the drop in the ocean, but also as the drop joins the ocean, the power of the ocean is also within that drop. And we've unfortunately learned how to separate ourselves very strongly and not become the drop in the ocean then that like flows with the river and sees what like life has for us and the gifts that we have. And so you're somebody that I've seen is very good at getting out of your own way into the flow of life. And I've been fortunate to see this many times. And so I want to dive into your own internal experience a little bit more, but is there anything else you want to touch on from what I just shared first?
No, it's just the reminder that this what we are talking is the way you can actually become one with the everything, and that's the actual mentalism. That's the actual mind. When you stop separating yourself as a person, as a being that says, "Oh, I can create through my mind," you have to think that yes, you can create through your mind, but when you have in count that your mind is connected to the mind of many, not just you. So it's not you as a person creating, is what everyone is holding. Like your reality that you are living here, that we are creating here, is because of all these people that is watching, not because of us. We wouldn't be here if the people are not staring or watching or paying attention to the energy. So that's how it works. It's not like oh, this person accomplished so many things. No, it's accomplished so many things because it allowed itself to become everyone that is supporting this creation. So that is a key to understand that the universal mind is not just us. We are not separated. Like our ancestors, the immigrants that moved through the planet to make us possible today, they are also part of that mind. The intentions that we have in the future are also part of that mind. So if we are only concentrated in the drop of water instead of the ocean, so we would never actually activate the power of that force, of the real mentalism.
So, like in the yogic philosophy, they have many different kind of layers or she's of the mind. Intellect is just one part, and it's kind of become in the Western view, like the whole pie. But there's the deepest aspect, which is referred to as chitta, which is like the deepest part of our mind, that is very much so connected to the rest of information in the field, and where wisdom can kind of sprout forth from within, kind of spontaneously. It doesn't need prior education. Actually, that kind of, I feel like, hinders the ability to access it. And so, yeah, I would just love for you to share about your internal experience, like what's happening to you. For example, we were just in Egypt together a couple months ago. We went to the Great Pyramids. We went all around. It was an amazing time, amazing crew. And I got to see you in certain moments kind of enter more of your channel where you drop the mind or the intellect. And then I guess you could say identify with the deeper mind, but you allow yourself to be moved in a way where I feel like you don't judge it as much, and to see what can guide you, and what are like the universal clues, or how you can support somebody. It feels very much so in contribution to others as well. What is happening in your mind and body in those states? Like, as best you can describe what's your internal experience.
Well, when I start to enter that state, I just the image that I have is like Matías lays down like this, like going to sleep, and I allow myself to become what is there. And for some people, that is channeling. I consider that becoming instead of channeling, because even if my body is magnetical, so it has a polarity which makes me a channel, for many years I thought that I was channeling someone else instead of actually becoming the toroid and accessing all information to become the information that is around instead of channel that information. So I allow myself to just relax and to become what is in the environment. And in that state, what I do is just to concentrate not in the mind, like okay, I have to do this or that, but I start to concentrate in the breathing, and then accompany the oxygen to go to the lungs, and how they spread to the veins, and they go through the streams. And so I start to go deeper and deeper as the oxygen touches the cells, and then like I do the whole path, forgetting that I am Matías. I'm going just to the molecules and creating this exchange of energy of the electrons, and suddenly I see the everything. Like every time that the oxygen touches a cell, and it creates like this light of exchange of electrons, and it's like, and suddenly I forget about hands or feet or eyes, and I just become this movement of light that is spinning and exchanging from one another. And so suddenly I start to see the patterns. I start to see the connections that are around, like the codes that are in the environment, the geometry that connects one person with the other, and I don't see the person. Actually, I just start to see electrons moving and weaving. So by frequency, you can see who is connected to whom, and which chakras are aligned with the others. So it's like a machine or an organism, and not people. So in that state, you can actually access the frequency of each one of the people, and to see the clues of what is there to be connected. I describe myself in that state as the weaver. So you can see patterns that have been spreading around, and when the right people with the right frequency are there, you can see actually geometrical patterns, and you can see where are the gaps that you have to reconnect. So it's like, put this person here, move this here, and do this. So suddenly you put them all together, and when they match, magic happens. And that's the moment when weird things happen. Like you see, how was that possible? Mm-hmm. How is this person doing this, or remembering this, or doing that? Is because something is matching the frequency. So that's how it feels, like a white spider weaving a net of electrons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Add web weaver.
Yeah, web weaver. Yeah.
So I mean, it makes sense. This universe is like it speaks geometry and its geometrical figures, and if one is able to open up their perception to be able to harmonize with what's needed in this space, or what geometry needs to be arranged in a different thing, then more things become available in that. How do you determine, delineate, decide between, especially earlier on in your path, what you're actually tapping into in reality, whatever you think reality is, or what's a potential mental fabrication, what could be potentially created by what you want to see? Our mind are incredible instruments that have the capacity to distort our perception very easily.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious how you, I guess, determine the authenticity of what you're doing.
Well, it's very difficult because, of course, all my cells are designed to interpret one thing. So in order to become the everything, it's like you need to forget your purpose. Like, I have no purpose. I am the void. So, and when you have to force things to happen, it's because your mind is trying to take over. But, for example, when you don't have to force things, and suddenly everything comes to you, and the right person says the right word, and everyone starts to see what is happening, you understand that it's not your imagination, your mind trying to your own mind trying to control it, is the mind of the everything, and that's why I don't like to guide meditations much, or to tell people what to do exactly. I love to just be in silence and to observe what patterns are being moved around, and by that I move in between. So I don't control it. So I don't let my mind to say this is how it is supposed to be. So in most of the energetical works that I have done, as you have seen in the pyramid, it's not that I try to say, okay, now let's do this or do that. It's like, it's observing, and suddenly everyone knows what they have to do. There's this thing that everyone was commenting, and telling me, I knew I had to do this. I felt that I needed to move this. I had to sing this. There is something that happens that allows you to see that you are not forcing it, but is the mind of everyone connecting. So I love to just observe in that state instead of pushing. So what I am doing actually is just to connect what the mind is showing up through the other people. So it's not like me doing something, but the mind activating. But it's very, very, it's very difficult because everything is mind. So the way you can access the eternal mind is imagination. So you have to imagine things in order for them to manifest. It's impossible to just not do anything and they to manifest. So you have to do it. So, and that's what we have, as I said, 400 years of people saying, put your feet on the ground, stop imagining. So we stopped creating our own reality. We started to live the realities of others. And every time that we are trying to connect with this new reality, we are afraid of, what if I am making it up? And the answer is, yes, you are making it up. Like, that's the point. Like, that's how everything started.
Right.
Someone was making it up. And it's all imagination. It's all something that, and now science can know that, because the reality of an electron behaves as a particle or a wave if we see or perceive it in that way, which is like a scientific clue of you have to imagine in order to change reality. So if you allow yourself to not be scared of, am I making this up or it's actually happening? You have to go full in with imagination. And it's actually happening when everyone around starts to live the same thing. Otherwise, you are just using your mind, your personality on it. And you're making your own movie and nobody's living that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the personality. It's not the mind.
Yeah, I think it's a really powerful distinction to have other people that can also validate the experience, because in many ways that it makes it more tangible. And like you said earlier, I mean, the education system right now is so predicated on putting things in and not allowing things to be brought out, which is the original like etymology of the word, educo. And I think that we understand that the line between imagination and reality is much more blurred than I think most people think.
Yeah.
You know, we can even see this intrinsically. If we have a thought of something and it brings out certain emotions, if we imagine a sexual experience, our body gets aroused. There is an intrinsic connection with what our mind does, what it's thinking of, what it imagines, and the physical correlation in what's happening biochemically, emotionally, vibrationally, energetically.
Yeah.
What since we were just talking about the pyramids, I'm just curious, what do you think the original purpose of the pyramids aim to serve?
Well, the idea of it is when you see a pyramid, you're actually seeing an octahedron. It's not just a pyramid. We visualize the pyramids as a symbol of power going up, but in the ancient times, nobody went up a pyramid. They were all in the pyramid. So that gives you a clue that the idea is not to reach God above, is to reach God within. So every pyramid has been built in order for you to access the core of it. So it's an octahedron, not a pyramid. And a pyramid actually means fire. So it's the fire in the middle.
An octahedron's like a different shape, though. I don't understand. Why is it an octahedron?
Octahedron is a pyramid above and a pyramid below.
Oh, okay.
If you have those two pyramids together,
Like
the reflection of it.
like a star tetrahedron, kind of with like a Merkaba shape almost.
No. It's a pyramid.
Okay.
You see a pyramid.
Yeah.
So put the ground and you see the pyramid. Now reflect it.
Okay.
Under, that's an octahedron.
Got
It's
it.
eight triangular faces.
Got it.
So you reflect it. Okay. So if you have water in the horizon, you can see the pyramid like this. So that's how you are supposed to see a pyramid. Like there is another one under, which are the chambers and tunnels that go under, that reflects the pyramid, which actually is not just a fire up is the fire between, is the fire in the middle, pyramide. So in that, which is pyros, which is fire, and miden, which is middle. So in the fire in the middle is actually an octahedron. When you expand the octahedron, each one of the triangles, you make a tetrahedron from each one of the faces, you have a Merkaba. So when you connect the dots of the Merkaba, you have an hexahedron, which is a cube. When you open the faces of the hexahedron, you have a dodecahedron. So you make like houses around. So you have a dodecahedron. And when you connect all the dots of the dodecahedron, you have an icosahedron. So actually, what you do inside of a pyramid is accessing the entire network of creation. So there's octahedron, hexahedron, through tetrahedrons, dodecahedron, icosahedron. So the purpose of the pyramids is to become God in the center. The idea was to become one with God when you are born, when you recognize your power, when you build yourself, and when you die. So the people that were able to enter the pyramids were there in order to prepare themselves to access all the network of consciousness, so the main structures of the universe. And so the pyramids became the seats of the tree of life. You have every octahedron is like a seat. So every pyramid is like a seat from the stars on the ground, so you can access the network of those stars. So you go to the Great Pyramid and you access the information of Mintaka, which is the star, one of the stars in Orion's belt. So you access the information of Orion and so on. So every temple, every star around the planet, it's a seed of the tree of life, which is the icosahedron, and all the roots on the top, and the roots and the branches of the tree of life, which is this spherical shape of the tree. And in the center, you have this little seed that created the whole thing. And that's a pyramid.
And so you go into, for example, the king's chamber like we did, and whatever that box is, some people call it a sarcophagus, but it doesn't really look like that.
Yeah.
So becoming God, realizing like unity with God, what do you think they were actually doing in there? And like, what can we remember about that time and the purpose that they serve?
Well, in order to access all the geometry of the creation, you have to remember that the creation is basically waves. So electrons, protons, mainly electrons, they behave as particles in this reality, but if you are not watching them, they behave as waves, which means that matter, the reality, only exists because we are observing it. If we don't observe it, we feel it. So it's a wave. It's a whoop, whoop. So it's like a wave of frequency. So what the Atlanteans did was, what are the waves that manifest those particles in a net? So what they did was, okay, we have an octahedron, has 8 faces and 1 core. So that means that there are 9 sounds that helps you to access the entire thing. The Indians call it Om, but actually it's not Om. It's It's like 9 vowels. So it's 9 vowels that actually are creating the shape. So when you sing the song, you access the wave. When you see the shape, you access the particle. So if we are particles now, imagine that, for example, an instrument, a piano, a guitar. So you have a string. and you have one side here and the other side here, and you have to tune those sides. So imagine that each one of the sides is a particle or a planet or a star. So how do you reach from here to here? You cannot move this planet here and move it here or travel all the way. The way to connect them is to tune one of them and make the chord. So the vibration reaches both particles at the same time, which is the quantum reality. So it doesn't matter where you are, by frequency, you access every planet or star. So what they did was to figure out which were the frequencies and sounds that connects every particle in the universe. So when you lay down there and you find the right frequency with your own nose that vibrates the pineal, it activates the pineal gland, the hypophysis gland, or pituitary, as most people know it, and they start to resound and vibrate. The structure of the pyramids resound the same sound to you, towards you, so it creates an echo constantly. And suddenly, your brain starts to interpret that you are not in a sarcophagus, you are like floating in water. And suddenly the chamber becomes stars, and you suddenly are levitating in the middle of the cosmos when you reach the right sound. So the particles become waves, and you start to accessing the same song in Jupiter, in Orion, in all the particles that are connected to the same particles that you have in your body. They connect with these other places. So it's like a time-space travel machine in which you don't have to actually go anywhere. You become everywhere. Yeah. That's a way to put it.
Yeah, it was great. I love that. And my experience laying down, and if you want to call it the sarcophagus in the king's chamber, when finding that resonance, was it feels like an engine starting or something. It's like when you hit the right note, whether you're humming or you just kind of find that right resonance, like the feedback of the chamber is like, it shakes, it like vibrates your whole body. There's also the like small little tunnel right before the king's chamber. There's this little area where you stand up.
Yeah.
And that one also is like even more intense. It was so...
That's a preparation. That's the tuning before you get in.
Yeah.
You have to tune yourself before. Yeah.
So it's basically like you crawl through this like fairly small hole to get into the king's chamber. In between there's an area where you can stand up fully vertically, and you could just like om, and the whole thing just like, you feel your whole body and being just completely vibrating with that too, which is just wild to experience. So I hope everybody gets to experience it, because it's
and you kind of, if you do it right, you kind of disappear. You suddenly feel like you are just vibration, and your body you stop feeling your body, you stop feeling your mind, and you're just vibration. So that prepares you to get inside the chamber and actually expand to any dimension. But yeah, so that's basically the idea of a pyramid, to become the everything. So that was the main thing. Like communicate is like a Tesla antenna of the past.
Yeah. This is all really incredibly fascinating. I want to ask you about a few more things here, and then I want to kind of start to bridge a little bit more. Of course, it's all one and the same, but I think that a lot of individuals on the spiritual path can, as their mind starts to expand past a certain point, it's like it can't shrink. Once you start to see some things, you can't unsee things, like in terms of your own experience. And I think it's just an expanded perception and way of moving through the world. And with that, I find some individuals struggle like staying grounded here in the 3D material plane, making money, relationships, etc. So I do want to go into that in a second. I'm just curious, in your own personal path, as you started to open up yourself to more and more perceptions, like, did you have periods of loneliness as you're starting to navigate, figure out, like, and understand and make sense of what's happening? I'm just curious, as you have many ego deaths of sorts where you kind of forget or lay down Matías, coming back into operating in the world where, part of you is Matías, or you're walking with your personality. I'm just curious, have you ever encountered loneliness in that way?
Every evening.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, as you said, once you have seen something in the core of the universe, and some things are impossible to explain, but you have them within, and when I act as Matías, it's like explain, doing things and stuff. But the second that I remember what I have seen, what I have lived, not as Matías, but as me, it feels like there's nothing, and that is the biggest void that you could feel, and it's a good void. But when you come back to the personality, it feels terrible. It feels like no purpose, no mission, no idea, no sense. That's why it's a spiritual crisis to actually recognize who you really are, because you suddenly remember the void. And when you go through the beauty of existence and creation, it's like everything is amazing. Everything is, wow, I'm all this, I am everything. But that's not the reality. Like, that's just the expression of the reality. But the truth is the void. The truth is this middle point in between everything that is not one or one. So in that middle point of all the possibilities that are unseen, you find the void, which is like the possibilities. It's like there's nothing there. It's just whatever it could be. And that makes you feel so alone, because you suddenly realize that every person that you love or that you laugh with, or every project that you do, everything is just a perception of a void. It's just another aspect of only one thing. And that one thing doesn't even exist. It's just a possibility. So it's like when you go there, you can either sit in the center with the void and feel the everything and be in peace with it, or you can enter in this state of personality that says, fuck, there's nothing. There's nothing. And it all depends on my perception, if that has a sense or not, if that has a meaning or not. So, yeah, I go through that every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people also have similar experience when they have an expanded awareness or opened up perception. There is in a way, in order like to have a path to where you can experience the cosmos in like really not identify yourself with the small self. It kind of has to die in many ways. So I feel like, experiencing something much grander than the small self, which is our kind of egoic narrative and our personality structure and like all these things that we identify with, like yo-yoing or coming back to that place when this whole reality makes way more sense, but not in the way that the personality makes sense of it. I can imagine how that could be really tough. And how do you navigate that outside of it just sucking? Like, what do you do with that? How do you navigate that? And how could you support other people navigate that?
Each one of us has its own perspective on going to the void. For some is depressive, for some is joyful. We all go through all these states when we go back to the center of everything. But as I said, when you go there and you start to have this crisis, the amazing thing is that the human part of you is like, I'm alone. And the divine aspect of you is, I can make everything. So every time that I go into that state, I'm I remind myself, it's on me. I can create everything. I can transform everything. So every time that I go through it, I allow myself first to feel that void. And because it's very human of us trying to hold the other person to be fine, because as mammals, we are supposed to help each other to survive in the herd. So if someone feels bad, it means that that person can die because someone can kill it, or an animal can eat it. And if we move forward, the sick person or the depressed person will stick behind. So it's the weak asset for a target for enemies, let's say. So that's very mammal thing. So that's why we don't want for people to be bad. We want for people to be happy. That's why we look for the universe needs to be happiness. It needs to be joyful. It needs to be so. But that's a mammal thing. Plants don't care about that. Rocks don't care about that. So when we try to understand or to seek joy in the void, we are trying to humanize it. But actually, it's not even depression. It's not even joy. Is nothing. And that state of nothing is perfection. So in order to reach there, you have to allow yourself to feel anything, all the shit you want. Like, you have to allow yourself to feel that depression and nonsense of everything. That's why some people think that becoming enlightened or spiritual, it means to, I don't know, be this enlightened person that is perfectly meditating on top of the mountain. But actually, it can take us back to Jesus hanging on a cross, losing faith in the last moment. So and even though he became the everything because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always that you have to be in the perfect state to become enlightened. It's allowing yourself to go through all the possible emotions and to allow yourself to experience it in all the possible ways. So going through it is not that in the other side you will find joy and happiness. That's a way of thinking of mammals.
Mm. What do you see as the importance of laughter in this process? Because outside of, also in podcasts, but just generally, you're somebody that I've just always see kind of laughing, and like there's such a playful nature around and connection with people. And, I think we oscillate oftentimes between having moments of maybe loneliness or depression for some people, or feeling disconnected, and then realizing the importance of the mammal within us that needs community and connection, and finds a lot of joy in realizing the cosmic joke of it all, and not taking it all too serious and laughing. So just, anything else you want to share on the importance of that?
Yeah, of course. As mammals, our way of finding connection is through basically play. We evolve through playing. Mammals have been evolving this planet to practice on how to survive, and so we needed to learn how to attack, for example. So that's why we are all the time in defense mood. Like, we are like
vigilant.
We have to survive. We have to survive all the time. So there were some mammals that used like this in order to scare or to attack. And some people kept with that state of mind. And some others, they decided to practice how to survive by playing with the others. So like you see a dog or a cat, they are happy playing, but they attack each other. But they are happy, they are enjoying it. So that's how we learn how to laugh. It's actually like this of attacking, but actually it's like we are having fun. So we are like boom, moving, scaring each other, and that thing of the mammals of survival turned into sharing and laughing and dancing and moving. So it created another way of survival, which is community, which is sharing. So if we are all together, if we laugh at each other, so we create a perfect pattern to survive in a different way, in another state. So as mammals, I can say that. So that's why it's so important to engage and create a pattern of frequency through laughter. But in the state of frequency, when we go deeper in our frequencies, laughter reprograms the vibration of the cells. It light up the frequency of the cells. So it creates these endorphins in our bloodstream that expands all this information in the body, saying, relax, everything is fine, everything is good. So you just have to smile in order to send the signal to the brain that everything is fine. I feel supported in myself. So laughter, play, it's a way to light up the frequency of your own self, of your own body, beyond the mammal thing. So that's why, besides all this crisis of every week going to this depression of the void, to connect with myself and bring this essence of information, which is myself, when I come back, the first thing that you have to do is to make a joke. Laugh about it. Like yesterday, I was, for example, very in a ceremony connecting with a very big pain of a trauma that I have from the creation, and it all turned like so deep and so dramatic in a moment, and I fell down with this channeling, doing crazy things, and well, it was very crazy what happened when I came back to this reality and fell on the floor on the arms of Lily, and it was like this, and many crazy things happened, and suddenly it was like, after feeling all this creation and trauma, my first words were like, well, we are in Hollywood, we had to be dramatic. like we needed to create drama. Yeah. So we all could laugh about that connection. So we kept like making silly things, and I came back from channeling archangels and structures of the universe and everything, and suddenly when I came back, I had Lily's dog making love to my arm, and I was like, that's reality. It's like that's unconditional love somehow. So it was a good way to come back to this reality. Like laughter is a good way to relate and to engage again with the patterns here.
Yeah. It can get very existential, and this need or feeling and urge that we have to try to save the world or understand all the codes and keys, and there's the balance between saving the world, and it has its own place, but savoring the world is also really important along the process. It also creates longevity for the other side of really serving for a long period of time in our life. But gotta savor it and enjoy the process.
Totally.
Yeah. So let's dive a little bit deeper into some of the, it's all human, right? But like some of the, I guess, in the personality structure, in navigating this world, like we can have these insights. A lot of these things are whether or not they're useful in this kind of capitalistic economic structure that we have. I want to talk a little bit about money, because not very often do I get to find individuals that I feel like are very spiritually attuned or have maybe even awakened to their gifts there, but then also manage to have like a really grounded, practical way to navigate world and make money and build business or whatever that is. Usually, we often see the business execs that are very materialist and so just focused in the 3D world and just trying to get better and better place in the world and with their personality. And then there's individuals who very much so feel connected to the cosmos and don't have as much grounded here in the 3D. So first, I want to talk to your process of manifestation and stuff, but I'm just curious, how do you make money?
I don't know. I basically, I started to, the first things that I did when I was 21, I started to do talks, and people would invite me, and we would organize these talks. Then, of course, I have been invited to platforms to do series. Most of the things that I did, for example, the projects that I did, like the I Am and everything, it was all supported by donations. So I could do all that because people trusting what I was doing. So that was another thing. And now we are creating projects to engage people to basically be partners on growing, but not just me, but everyone that is engaging into this, like partnership of investors, let's say, to hold all the projects that I want to manifest now. But usually it's been because of talks that they invite me and they pay me because of what I do, retreats. Lately, it has been because I've done trips around the world, like through England, through Egypt. So those are basically the incomes. Like I managed to mix my purpose, like I have to travel and do this task, with people that actually want to share and to go and to do these things with me and to learn in the process. So I basically say I wouldn't be able to do what I do if people don't pay me for that, because it's the energy that I need to do it. Otherwise, I should, I don't know, work in an office or somewhere in order to pay my bills and to survive. But if people like what I do, so they help me do it through that. Yeah.
Just get the vision of you in a parallel universe working as an electrician, and it's like, and then here in this timeline, you're the cosmic electrician.
Totally.
But I think there's a lot to dive in here with people starting to awaken to their purpose or get a dream and vision of a life that is really fulfilling for them. Like for you, you're able to make it work through paid speaking gigs and TV series, and now you can travel kind of full time doing the thing that you really love, and it also works out energetically for people to pay you, and there's that exchange. But I'm sure there was early on a period where you started to as you're starting to share and starting to teach, you weren't making as much money doing these things.
Oh, totally.
And I think a lot of people have that kind of struggling artist where whether it's their music or their art in the world or just their voice and wanting to start a podcast or just share what is really wants to come through them, but they struggle trying to be able to do it full time, which they want to do, but we live in this economic system where we need to make money to pay the damn bills. So
yeah, totally. Imagine that the first book that I wrote, we were living in a rental house with my mom. She lost her job. We had no money, and I told her, don't look for work, because my guides told me that in a few months we will be working with many things, so we shouldn't do anything. Like, don't attach to any work. And she was like, but we don't have money. And I was like, don't worry. So we will eat whatever we can find, but it will happen in a few months. So I bought 2 chickens, and we have like a garden. So they used to eat there, and I wrote my first book with the chicken, like like a cat. So I was, I was like, the image of it was amazing. I
It's
was
amazing right now.
yeah, I had the chicken here. She would lay eggs. We would eat the eggs of the chicken, and I was like giving love to the chicken as I was writing the first book.
You wrote your first book while petting a cock.
That sounds accurate.
Oh, we just call it how
That
it
was
is.
a chicken. The cock was it wasn't a male.
Oh, okay. This is
But
hilarious.
you can picture that too if you want.
This is getting this visual of you petting a chicken, writing your first book. So then a couple months passed by, and did the money come in?
Then I did this book and these two books, very tiny and terrible in my own perspective from today. But those two books were the ones that that when I did my first talk, people would buy. So it was the first income that we had, and because of what I organized with the Atartumti and I wrote these tiny books, they started to call me from Chile, from Spain to do talks, and they started to pay me. So so I was like, of course we were struggling, but I didn't say I will get into survival mode.
Yep.
I didn't say that. Like, no, we have to just wait for the right moment and start doing things, you know? So, yeah, so that's how it all started.
Yeah.
Like petting a cock.
Oh god, I had to. It's an intrusive thought that won.
Yeah, of course.
So a couple of really important distinctions there is one, it kind of like a lot of people that are in that position, it kind of takes, I feel like, really trusting it and having that ballsy claim of like, I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I'm gonna go all in and just like trust and just trust. And I feel like that almost tells the universe that you're ready to receive it, and then the things come in. And so, so I want you to open up that process of manifestation more, because when we really believe that it's coming in a way that we can't physically find evidence for necessarily in the world, I feel like that opens up a lot of doors to then become a match to it.
It's just that in our society that has been based in survival for so long, one of the things that we have is you have to work hard to get something. You must do a lot of work and put all your effort in your life and sweat in order to get something. You know, so this built up an understanding that everything is a competition. Like, I have to work harder because otherwise the other ones would take my place. So I have to do as much as I can in order to survive in this environment. So I have to put everything that I have in order to achieve something. But actually, go back to the mentalism. You're not alone. The mind is everywhere. So sometimes when you're trying to do something by yourself, because you say, I want to do it, I want to, you are missing like 100 possibilities around that can solve you this problem that you have, and because you were like holding it for yourself because you were scared that someone would take it from you, the other 100 possibilities, they don't know that you are doing that. That they have no clue, they have no idea, and sometimes the help can come in a totally different way. So you don't have a place to live. Maybe someone has the place for you to live. But if you don't ask to the world and you are like, I have to work hard in order to get the house, in order to whatever. So you're missing all these other chances that is not only about to have and to achieve, it's about to share and to expand. So when you change that aspect of yourself, when you get away from the survival mode and you start the expansion mode. So there are 100 possibilities that can come to you instead of you have to go to them. And this is how most of the things that I am doing are happening. I always consider that I am not doing anything. And even though people come and tells me, you should come here, you should do this, I give you this, I will help you with this. As I said, for example, I was never ever afraid of not having a home, because I travel all the time, and I know that anywhere in the world I go, I can have a room, because I made a huge, let's say, family that can hold me. So for me, it's not a problem to say I need a bed or I need food. Sometimes I even forget, where I'm going to sleep. Like I don't even think about it, or what I'm going to eat. Sometimes I don't think about it because there's always someone offering it, because I just rely on the bigger mind, not just on my own survival state. And I know it's difficult to make that change, to switch this idea of I have to make money to get something. You don't always have to get money in order to get something. We have this perception of we have to be paid in order to accomplish something. And it's not always like that. You can get many things without even a dollar.
Yeah.
And eventually you will, when you expand yourself in that way, so suddenly you have a lot of people that will love to help you to have your things. So that's what have been happening to me my whole life. It's there's always someone that tells, what do you need? And it's just because I allow myself to do my own thing and to be who I am and to expand my message, my needs. So for example, in the whole path of the I am, I didn't just share like wisdom. I shared my shit. Like I literally spoke about the darkest sides of my soul and my main needs and what I was craving for, and I share all of that, and people were very grateful that I was not lecturing. I was just telling, this is me, these are my problems, this is what I have, this is what I don't, and that engaged a lot of people to say, we will support you when you need us, or when you need us, and it's this state of weakness, of allowing yourself not be your own responsible of survival. When it's not the weakness of, oh, poor of me, I need something. It's the weakness of, I am whole by the everything. Like I don't have to be like in the power all the time to survive. I'm like, okay, there will be always someone that can help me. There will be always someone that is the other part that I cannot do. And we waste a lot of time trying to do things that we don't know. When there are people that already know what they are doing, and that can help you accomplish what you are supposed to do. Yeah,
to do things that we don't know and also be someone who we're not. I think that there's a couple things that I want to just highlight from what you mentioned is, we want to create this abundant life for ourselves that's like, radically different or 10 times better than what we're currently experiencing. And yet, if we're trying to create an abundant reality through the old scarcity mindset, it's not going to be a match to it. But one of the biggest things that I noticed or picked up on that also resonates within my own journey is that there is a level of surrender that doesn't correlate to being like doing nothing, but that you can actually let go and surrender and really trust, and then also still have a lot of action and be doing a lot of things and be writing your book. And I think a lot of people just have this idea of the law of attraction being, just send the prayer out and then just lay and do nothing, and if you really believe that you're worthy of something, you will go and move in the world in ways that is a match to that. And so there can be enormous action and also complete surrender simultaneously, which a lot of people don't correlate.
Yeah. I am all the time doing things. Like I'm all the time planning stuff and I'm doing many things all the time, like projects, designing, team, trying to organize huge things. And it's all the time working, but it's all the time also being open to whatever it's coming. So it's not like if I don't do this, nobody will. It's like I am doing this, and a lot of people will come to join what I'm doing. But I think that most of us, what we have is this, in this human state, is this fear of sharing, just in case someone gets what I am doing, or these kind of things. But actually, as the more you share yourself, the more you expand yourself, more options will appear, more possibilities will appear. So it's not about don't do anything, just wait. It's about do things in order to expand yourself to others that will be able to help you into that. So yeah, it's a change of mindset.
Yeah.
On from where do we do things, and sometimes it's not, as I said, it's a whole mentalism that comes from everywhere. So it's not maybe you that is not doing that. Maybe it's your ancestors that are still alive in you. Like, for example, in order for my mom and I to transcend and to be able to expand and to feel anchored as we expand, we realized in that path that it was my great-great-grandfather, the one that actually didn't want for us to do that, because he felt that he lost everything. And so he was so concerned into that we needed to heal that. So it took for us to go to the village where he was born in Italy, take soil from there, engage with the family that was left behind, have a connection with them, take the soil to the grave in Argentina, and to say, we brought you your land, and so you can let us find our own. And 1 week after that, we found a house. Wow. So it's like where we live now. So it's like sometimes these connections with the past are also clues to how do we live our lives today. Like these conditions that we have from the past, they live in ourselves. So unless you don't face them, you think that you are by your own doing this.
Yeah.
But actually, we are held by so many traumas and things.
Yeah, I really despise that notion of like the self-made person. There's not a single self-made person. We all have had an incredible lineage before us, but also teachers in this life, people that have opened doors.
In biology, a self-made person is called cancer.
That's a great line.
A tumor.
Yeah, for real though. And I think when we operating in such that myopic way of like incrementally trying to just improve our life from our own ego, and we're missing the ability to pay attention to be surprised by life, and also open our perception up to the opportunities that are all around us, because we have so many amazing opportunities or connections that maybe you just didn't think of that would be supportive towards your vision or mission. But by in that path to surrender, and then also actively pursuing the path, you can start to find and discover things that maybe would have just looked mundane or normal, or like there wasn't anything there, but that person then becomes a doorway into another connection or another opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that the more that we operate from that place of like grace and gratitude, and also like how can I serve, how can I give, instead of what can I take, what from everybody, then that energy reciprocates as well. So anything you have there in terms of, finding resonance with the energy that gives back to us as we like move that energy forward.
Totally. For example, there were some people working with me in the past that whenever I got paid because of a talk or because of a series I did or whatever, I immediately used that money to have fun with my friends, to go to Disneyland or to make a road trip in Scotland, or I don't know, like so they're like, why are you not earning money like to do other things, like, or not projects but for yourself, like my own thing, like I don't know, to get an apartment, these kind of things. And I'm like, because I'm gonna die. So money is energy that needs to be moving. And in those trips, I started to meet people and to show, I don't know, another way of living that engage other people, that eventually say, I want to travel with you too. And I invite you here. And then that person has a friend that actually is someone famous that can help me to do this. And so just by investing in joy, investing in having fun, I expanded the most. Not because I was trying to save something to survive or to feel safe from something. So immediately, my first thought all the time is like, what is the next adventure? With who? Like, I have to expand this. And so yeah, it was like kind of conflict sometimes, because I receive, for example, I put a lot of my money to make a fun trip with a group of friends once. Like I needed to do it. I needed to see them happy and to share with them that happiness. And there was someone in the organization saying, like, you're wasting all your money, you're wasting this, just in a silly thing or whatever. And I was like, but I know that if I live my life giving, the life will give me back. And immediately, 2 days after, someone said, I need some clues to figure out something for my business, and I would like to have 1 or 2 hours talk with you to go through all of it. And I said, sure, of course. So I just talked to her for 2 hours and helped her to find some clues about the philosophy of the company, and she gave me exactly the same amount of money that I put in the like I didn't even ask for it. I just did it because I wanted. But she gave me exactly the same amount of money that I put in my friends. So 2 days after. So when you are allowing yourself to move forward, it's not just that you have to, I don't know, like you have to do a project for humanity in order to receive from humanity. Sometimes is because you are just giving. The energy of giving, of expanding, is what actually moves the energy to you back. And if you are not receiving it back, it's because you're having interest in the middle. You're like, I'm doing this because of me. I'm doing this because of, so that's why it's not flowing. So money has been demonized by religion, so religion can have the money. And money is not just a paper. Money is value. And value is the amount of energy that you need to do something. So anything can worth something. Like seeds, gold, bits in a computer. So anything can have value because we give the value to something. So it's not about the money. And I've seen a lot of spiritual people saying money is evil. No. Money is not evil. People are stupid, which is very different. And the reason why is because we not only put value on it, but power. And we think that we can control through having something that we only give value to. So when you start to move the value in between the people in a different way, you grow exponentially. And so when you demonize the value, you will never get value. And that's why darkness is very good for that. Darkness always makes money. And the reason why darkness always makes money is because they don't have a trauma with it. They don't have a trauma with value and power. They are empowered. They say, I will do what I want to do. And I will create what I want to create. They don't have this trauma of, we have to be all one and peaceful and whatever. So that trauma of the spirituality, which is actually a Christian or Semitic tradition, which is you shouldn't have more than the others. You have to give everything that you have. This was a tradition that was misinterpreted. Like you have to be poor in order to be accepted by God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the meek shall inherit the earth. Yes,
exactly. So that tradition, it was very useful for the feudalism because people were like, no, I'd rather be poor so God accept me.
Right.
So some others said, perfect, I don't believe in God.
Yeah.
So this tradition made spiritual people believe that they have to not take care of money, like this is evil, and I have to just be spiritual. And the thing is that spiritual reality, spirit means to breathe, spirare. Respiration is to go back to the spirit, which is to breathe back, breathe again. And why do you breathe? Because the value of energy that moves your body is the electrons in the oxygen. So oxygen gives the electrons that your cells needs in order to move and reproduce. So the money that you are receiving from the universe is oxygen. So you are constantly in economy, but sometimes we don't realize about it. But this economy flows all the time, and we give carbon dioxide to the environment as a payback for the plants to get that, create their own energy, and gives the oxygen for the rest to keep producing carbon dioxide. So that's economical system. But when you sit down and meditate, you don't think that you are exchanging money, but actually you are. And the plants become like this bank where they accumulate that. And once they have raised enough money, they can produce a fruit that you can eat. So as you see, it's an investment every time you breathe out. So this way of thinking can help you to understand that it's not the money. Money is like a fruit. It's like a fruit that you eat whenever you need it. But in order for a fruit to exist, you need to give something, which is carbon dioxide, to the environment so the plants can produce the fruit. And so this economical system of nature is what spiritual people sometimes forget because of the cultural belief.
Right. Stopping that flow of reciprocity. I love everything that you shared there. And just realizing that we will get compensated in direct proportion to the value that we bring to others, and also the difficulty in replacing us, like how unique we've realized what we have to offer is, not in comparison to others, but genuinely because it wants to come through us. And we all have that unique thing, however it expresses.
Yeah.
I love Muji shared in our conversation that there is a great poverty in wealth and a great wealth in poverty.
Yeah.
And so, it's not like by making money all your problems go away, but it makes certain things easier for sure, and allows you, if you want to channel that energy and resource into amplifying what you're doing, it'll just make you more of who you are and what you're here to do, which, is a messed up person that wants to inflict more trauma in the world, you can definitely do that. You can control the music industry, you can control the food and pharmaceutical systems and continue perpetuating that. Or if you want to actually be a regenerative force in the world and give back to the soil and help human consciousness flower and evolve, then you can do that too, which is just, deciding which side you want to be on.
Yeah, well, the cameras that you have here are expensive.
Yeah, they are.
So they need to be maintained, and you have to pay the bills for the electricity that you're using for this, because it's energy. So of course, in a perfect world, you don't need to do all these things. But the thing is that a perfect world will never exist. We will always have a problem to solve, and a main energy that we have to give in order to receive. So it's a constant exchange of energy. And as you said, the problem now is that just a tiny group of people has the most power. But also, in another perspective, this is the first time in history that the most amount of people in the world has more resources. Like 100 years ago, it was just maybe 1% and the rest poor. And now it's growing. Like, we have the chance to do many things, to grow. A lot of people are growing now, but we are in this middle point of a lot of people that have been living in poverty for thousands of years. Now they have the chance to become the feudals, the kings. So what we are living now is the opposite reaction of the trauma. Like, I was poor, now I want to have it all, because thousands of years I couldn't have it, and now I'm being able to have things. So it's like sexuality. Like, today is like we've been like 3, 4, 5,000 years in which societies have forbidden people to be what they want, to do what they want, and to express their sexuality. We have been like blocked from the belly button down. So that's why everyone now or wants to have things because they were poor, or wants to fuck everyone because they couldn't before. So now the thing is that now we are in the middle point of a trauma of releasing all the forbidden things that we couldn't do before, and all our ancestors couldn't do, or they were at least hiding it, and now we can be free about it. So it's easy to see today and judge society as we are lost, or this is chaotic, or whatever. But when you compare with all the history, we are really doing it great. It's just that we are healing traumas. It's like this kid that, when he's 14 years old, he discovered what a candy is, and wants to eat all of it. So that's the feeling that we have today in the society.
So much suppression, right? And coming back into more freedom, then you get to express, and then eventually you find your balance maybe, and realize you don't need to eat every candy everywhere, but sometimes you need to go and experience that, to know where the line is.
Exactly.
And I think it's also important because we spoke to how very much so the wealth disparity is in many ways actually growing. Like, and I had this kind of thing, earlier on in my journey where, look at like George Soros or the Rothschilds or the individuals that have billions and trillions of dollars and are controlling the media and all these things, and like have a lot of vengeance, have a lot of spite, have a lot of, hateful energy towards that. And that resistance energy, I've come to feel, is actually like creates more of it in many ways.
Yep.
You can have awareness as to what is not working, what is not beneficial to the well-being of, all sentient life, in the planet at large, in the Gaia and biosphere. But then our energy is most effectively used in creating the new world, not like Bucky Fuller said, trying to make, you make the new old world obsolete by creating the new one, not trying to tear
fight
it
the
down.
other one.
Yeah. So anything that you have there in terms of like bringing that energy into what we're doing is way more effective than trying to fight the old system.
Yeah, we have been designed for thousands of years, as I said again, to survive. So we think that attacking the one that has will give us more power. So whoever has more is like, oh, they have more because he was taking benefit from all the others. And the reason why they are taking benefit from all the others is because the others aren't doing anything. So it's not about why this people is rich and powerful. It's about why I am not doing anything to get my own power and wealth. So by criticizing the ones that got it, you are just creating opposition. So you will never try to become like them. So you will be always poor without power.
It gives us the illusion of control for a moment.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but these people are not powerful and they don't have the control of the system. We give the power of the control of the system to someone because we are putting the energy towards them. If you put all the energy that you put criticizing someone into your own development, so you could become very expansive and powerful. But our society, as I said, because of religion and these dogmas, have been designed to say that the one that is wealthy is our enemy, and even though we contribute to give more to them because we are not doing our thing, we're just surviving. And these people that became like that, they forgot about survival. The richest people in the world, they never thought about surviving. They always thought about expanding. Expand. And we have this thing to believe that nature didn't do that. Like, nature is perfect. When you sit down in a tree, under a tree, you think, oh, this is perfect nature, and why we couldn't live like that all the time. But what we don't understand is that plants are in a constant war of taking sun, light, and they make skyscrapers, and they kill the ones that are under. And the ones that are under, instead of saying, we will fight the tallest one, the skyscrapers, what we will do is to adapt to eat what they create under, and we will develop in another different way. So that's how we have all this underground connectivity with all these other plants, but actually the trees are using the workers that are the insects and the birds to expand their territory. So a forest, you can see the forest as an enterprise, a company that has been using a lot of people to expand. So now you can think in these terms, or you can think they are expanding by giving opportunities, shelter, food, many things to all the environment. So everyone is getting benefits from it. So if you see the expansion of the enterprise as something that is killing everything, instead of saying, okay, what can I do for my own benefit using this expansion? So there you have nature. So nature never judges the expansion of others. It just takes benefit from the expansion of others for you to expand better. And humans have forgotten that main structure of nature, and we are trying to make the trees shorter, cut the trees so they're all equal, or let's do monocultives so we are all equal and we can produce more, but that kills the insects, the birds. So we are trying to make it unnatural. And unnatural is not to go to a forest. Unnatural is to not use expansion as a system, but cutting as a system.
Yeah.
So, so when you try to attack the biggest tree, you forget about what the tree can give you to expand. So I wouldn't see these rich people as the bad people in the picture. I just think that we are just annoyed by how gigantic they became, and we are just grass in the floor. But the reality is that grass covers the entire planet and forests don't. So yeah, we are in this constant war that has been created by ideologies, and we are not following the natural rhythms of things. And this thought of nature is perfect, and we forget that we are nature too.
Yeah.
And this constant war that we have in between each other is just is not something that helps us actually evolve to a conscious, harmonious society, which is like a forest. It just keeps us in a constant war of trying to see who is better, which idea is better. These ones are stealing from us. And as I said, the only reason why the only 1% of the planet is richer than the other 99% of the planet is because the 99% of the planet, they think that they are poor. They think that they don't have anything. They think that they gave the power to these people. So I wouldn't blame them. It's just responsibility. Like, we have to have our own responsibility for our own inner and outer growth to evolve.
And I just like the analogy of nature for so many things about our own inner nature and what does it mean to come into right relationship and harmony with the outside world and nature. And the shift of perspective of seeing expansion of others or people even in a similar field or industry to you doing well. Like if you see comparison and competition there, it's stealing away your own energy. Because if you realize your own individuation of how God is expressing itself through you, if you know you're one of one, if you've like clarified that and discovered that and, you know, realized that, then how could there be comparison? You know, there's no such thing when we're just completely different things. And so with that, if somebody else like has a podcast that's similar in a similar space, I have no idea of competition with them because there's only one way I can create my show and how I want to, and more power to them finding their own growth in the space, because ultimately I think the proliferation of wisdom and these ideas, no matter who it's coming from, is good for the whole. And I think it's just a really important perspective to really embody.
Yeah. We are millions of humans, so we all have our unique way to do things. And if we, coming back to nature, if we all would think that the best way of doing photosynthesis is to be a sequoia, so we wouldn't have flowers. Like there wouldn't be medicine in the world, because sequoias are great, but they don't produce flowers. They don't allow to other plants to grow around them. There is no variety. And so imagine how poor a society would be if everyone tries to do the same system. Yeah. If everyone tried to do the same thing. And they're all doing photosynthesis. It's their main thing. But even though they evolved in so many different ways, and one of the reasons why we have flowers today, it's because insects, which somehow we can interpret like the ones that actually are eating us or taking energy from us, and they are eating the leaves and eating eating the branches and making holes in the trunks. So the beetles, the insects, are the enemies of the plants. So the plants eventually said, wait a moment, what if I use them to expand my business, to expand myself? So I will attract them not to my leaves, but to something new. And I give my power to them to expand myself. So they created a flower. So the first flower, it was just leaves that attracts with colors that the insects can see better. So they attract the insects there. They trap the insects sometimes, and they pollinize, and the insects leave. They eat the flower. The plants don't need the flower anymore. They kept the leaves. They just use the flower to expand and create another one. So the same thing that before was attacking and it was a conflict, a problem for plants, they solve it expanding themselves. So if we think that what is attacking us is a bad thing and we try to protect ourselves constantly, we will never expand. And the product is the same, photosynthesis. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole point of it, making light into matter.
Yeah, it's also fascinating that the most beautiful part of the plant is then what attracts and gives off the chance for its own expansion, but attracts the plants or the insects to then go and pollinate and expand it. And how when we unlock our own beauty, what is in our own flower internally as a human, like that, the flower and blossoming process and sharing that, I feel like attracts a lot of people from the outside world, not necessarily insects, to proliferate, that the fragrance of the flower, of that beauty, and share it with the world, and we can expand in that way too. I'm just curious, on this note of expansion and like living this life, the role of relationships, because I know, there's so many different ways to perceive why certain people come into our life, whether it's a new connection or if there's resonance from past existences or past lives, where I'm curious, how much do you see the people that come into your life or people that come into other people's lives are there because there was past, interactions in previous lives?
Well, many, because you get together with people by resonance. So you attract the people that has somehow been connected to you, and they come back once and again. If you think of yourself as a note or a chord in a song, so eventually the song repeats the same chords once and again, and that's why you kind of love the music, because you even if it transforms itself many times, it keeps some chords to repeat the same pattern. So imagine that you have many chords and many instruments that mix to create that song. So sometimes the song changes, but sometimes the chords repeat. So all the people that you relate to are part of your song. And some people like just simple songs with pentatonics, so just a drum. And some people create orchestras with huge amounts of instruments and different modalities. So the thing is that when you realize that you are just a pattern in a song, so all the people that you find helps you to create your music. And of course, you will find the people that gives you the conflict in the song and the resolution of the song. So you won't have any beautiful moment of resolution in a song without the one that gives you the opposite. So that's part of your song too. So that's why we attract people that gives us conflicts, problems, in order for us to find the note for the resolution, and keep the song going. So I see it all like interweaving of instruments that create a song. And through time and space in every life, we repeat the pattern, which is not exactly the same. The music evolves, of course. So that's why you connect all the time with kind of the same people. But of course, some people have come here to do very complex orchestras and classical music, or very complex types of music that involves many instruments. So that's why some people, like I consider myself someone that is connecting with so many people in so many levels. So it's like trying to create a whole orchestra of many things. That's why so many people I feel connected from different timelines, and putting them all together now.
Yeah, I think irrespective of what the mind decides, what purpose or for what reason someone comes into our life, I feel like a golden thread throughout this whole podcast is just the power of paying attention to see how you can, one, serve who and what comes into your life, and also see what you can receive from anybody, from a stranger, from a person experiencing homelessness on the street, to a top business executive, to an artist, to also like being able to communicate and commune with plant and animal life too. You know, there's so many lessons and information that all life has to us, and we just get to pay closer attention.
Oh yeah, we have to be open to receive information from all the relationships that we have. I was having a talk with Blue the other day that I said I will give a course to her and to other people called a conscious slut.
Nice.
Because we relate with people being unconscious about it. Like when you try to engage with someone and be connected to someone and be part of someone's life, and relationships, family, friends, that you want to belong. So it's the unconscious level of survival of, I need these people in my life in order to feel safe. Okay, so that's the unconscious working there. And consciousness means to put all what was cut in different pieces, to put them all together. And you had no clue what are those pieces unless you're open to receive them. So if you're not open to new people, if you're not open to new relationships, if you're not constantly open to receive the codes of each one of the people around, so you will never know how to put them all together. By unconsciousness, you just follow a few. So you are always in the need of completing yourself with someone, instead of just being like this flower receiving the bees and the insects to say, oh, now I can expand. Okay, so I call that the concept of a conscious slut.
The consciousness slut, something like that.
The consciousness slut, which is like, be open to anything. Be open to anything, and then you will be able to actually connect all the points.
All right, we'll see if that comes to fruition. I see you and Blue working on something like that.
Our next talk.
Yeah. The last thing that I want to touch on today is kind of a little bit where we started is, we can remember about the incredible ancient technologies that had, existed in, civilizations that we've potentially, very much so lost connection to or remembrance of. But in many ways, like we've talked about on the last podcast, how time is not linear in the way that most people perceive. And we are also kind of creating an ancient future. Like the future is ancient in the way that we're remembering a lot of these technologies and understandings in the pursuit of expansion. And so when you look at artificial intelligence and transhumanism and the direction that we're going, which is exponentially expanding day by day. We're seeing incredible innovations in this space. I'm just curious, as a lot of people fear what is to come in the innovation because, of course, there is the duality of its potential efficacy for supporting the planet, but then also can be used by people in positions of power to really negatively affect the planet. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on the artificial intelligence, transhumanism, and where we're going as technology is exponentially rising.
Well, it's what it's coming for the next 2,000 years for sure. I don't know how Capricorn age will be. Maybe we'll go back to the fields. But for the next 2,000 years, it will be all AI. Evolution, going away from the planet, expanding our seeds to other worlds, mixing carbon with silica, becoming technology, our own technology. And this is something that we cannot escape. This is something natural that will happen, and it's part of the cycles. For example, in the time of Atlantis, one of the reasons why Atlantis fell and disappeared was because they designed the whole civilization according to the Virgo era. And the Virgo era, it was 2,400 years of organization, motherhood. So everything was like taking every village as a son, a daughter. And when the Leo era started, every son and daughter said, now I want to be the mother. Now I want to be the father. And I want to be my own king or queen. And so Virgo said, no. Like this, the past era of Atlantis said, no, we are supposed to be in order, in balance, all connected with the Mother Earth. And Leo said, oh, we will keep that, but in our own way. And that was a war. That was a conflict. So some people from Atlantis, they knew that they had to adapt to a totally different way of doing things. But some others started to control, which basically they took the wrong side of Leo, of the age of Leo, which was power, control, and saying, I will rule upon all of you because you don't know how to do things. So that was Atlantis at the very last moment. So what we are living now, we are living in a Pisces era going to Aquarius era. And Pisces is utopia. We live in this beautiful realm of imagination where everyone is happy, running in the paradise, naked, living in the most beautiful realm. But my imagination is better than yours. So I will kill you because I don't trust what you want for the dream to be. So that's the two Pisces, the two fishes trying to eat each other in this constant dream of imagination. And one of the things that this 2,000 years had in Pisces is it's an utopia of a heaven. Like we are aiming to live in this paradise. But we're going to Aquarius, which is the paradise. In order to make that paradise, you have to become the player of the game. You have to create the tools to transform constantly this reality into the game, into the paradise. So I can help you live in that paradise with technology. I can help you through innovation. I can help you if you believe in yourself and not in the idea that someone told 2,000 years ago. So don't believe in him, believe in you. And create all the time what your dreams are trying to do and manifest it. And we have the tools to do it. So that's Aquarius. So what we have now is this conflict of the dreamer that says, but I want for everyone to live happy under a tree and connected to the everything and bring the realms of God into this reality through spirituality. And Aquarius says, well, but spirituality is actually the connection with your pineal gland. Really? Yes, which is basically the activation of certain molecules that activate the spirit within you. Yeah, which is all basically the technology of your body. So why don't you activate the pineal gland with a screen reflecting the patterns and the certain frequencies that go straight to your pineal gland, and you will reach God in that way too. So Aquarius will try to find different ways than just sitting under the tree. And that is something that we are going to anyways. So whether we go becoming conscious on using that technology with the purpose of finding yourself, or the technology will find a way to use you to find themselves. So that's why I think we shouldn't be worried about if technology will take over the world. We should be worried about how aware we are to show the technology how to do it. Because technology will do whatever we do. If we are worried, technology will interpret, oh, these people need to feel safe. So they will create everything to make us feel safe that can also put us on a cage. But if we teach technology that we want to be connected to the everything, so technology will be useful for that. The problem that we have today is that we think that technology is something against nature. And technology is not against nature, because technology is silica, is a mountain. It's basically the mountains that you go and sit there on a rock to meditate. When you go inside the pyramid, when you hug a tree, when you hug a rock, a crystal, and you wear a crystal in your neck, and you say, I have to become gold, so I need to use silver or gold, or use like amethyst. It's the same thing that created basically the SIM card for your phone. It's the same thing organized in a different way. So basically, when you use technology, you are using another way of a mountain. So in evolution, in terms of evolution, eventually the mountains will take over again. But now silica will become the awareness of the planet. And if we put consciousness on what the planet is, technology is part of that planet. It's part of the evolution of this planet. And we shouldn't forget that this planet, in order to evolve and to make everything that exists today, had at least 5 massive extinctions where it wiped everything away. And it was not just an asteroid from outside. It was also the cracking of the interior of the planet when all the volcanoes covered the entire thing and it all died. And there was a lot of life, and suddenly, literally, everything died. And the only thing surviving were some fishes in the bottom of the ocean. And just because the planet needed to create a network which was different and that before didn't exist, which was the mycelium. So the mycelium covered the entire planet, and from there, it created the plants and the connectivity of the entire realm. So it had to destroy everything in order to reset. So sometimes we forget that in terms of the planet Earth, it's not about holding beautiful trees or us as, a beautiful civilization dancing around the fire. For the planet, sometimes is we need to restore a different way. Let's create a different option. So I wouldn't be worried about the technology taking over the planet in the next 2000, or transhumanism, becoming carbon and silica together. I wouldn't be worried about that. what I would really be worried is we trying to escape this reality. We trying to become something that we are not. And we trying to control the reality instead of becoming the reality. So that's our main problem, because I am more concerned about spiritual people trying to kill people that is doing innovation. Like, it happened many times. Like, this is not God's plan. This is not God's plan. So suddenly we created terrorism. And sometimes people forget that the first terrible terrorists were the Christian people when they killed everyone in Alexandria, because study was against God's plan. And so this sometimes when we think that God's plan or the nature plan is what we believe, usually we're wrong, because we think as humans. We think in our safety, in what we think is better for us. But the planet doesn't care. The planet will evolve anyway. And if AI is the next step for evolution, the planet will allow it to happen. If the planet don't want for it to be the next step of evolution, it will wipe out all technology with the magnetical field. So it can't do it. Just take a decision. So whatever the planet doesn't agree with, will change it. So I wouldn't be concerned about the planet. I would be concerned about how aware are we in this process, because we can create a terrible future where everything is gray and the technology is taking over, which is usually the imaginary that we have of technology. Or we can actually go to the other way, which is art. Technology becoming the artist that heals the water, that heals the mountains, that makes us understand the trees, that makes us speak with the animals. So imagine this technology that will enable us to talk with dolphins, and for them to explain us how it is to take care of the oceans, for example. So we will have another kind of communication. People will start to respect the animal kingdom and not eating them, maybe. So just because you can talk with a cow, and suddenly technology allow that. So I don't think the future of technology will be terrible. I think that it will actually connect us even more to the earth.
Yeah, I sure hope so.
Yeah.
I think we're at a point where the advent of a super intelligent AGI, where even if like an alien comes down and say like, okay, we're destroying, we've destroyed like 50% of the biosphere. From the perspective of planet Earth, what is the issue? It's the humans. The humans are messing like everything up. Okay, so you remove the humans, and then everything suddenly, the oceans start to clear up, the trees start to grow back, and the forests. And so I'm just curious what happens because we're like literally moments away, and I don't think a context that people actually realize from artificial general intelligence being able to, very aptly be able to understand so much in the innovation side of things, but then also like if you put the task of figuring out what's the problem on the planet right now, and this intelligence and this innovation and this technology is being used by individuals where we're at a certain level of consciousness, where we have animal factory farms where we're killing 50 billion animals a year, and like the destruction of the biosphere and all these things. I see both sides of it, and maybe this Earth plane, like we spoke to a little bit last time, is always going to have the balance of light and dark, hopefully not in the extremes of the polarities of it. But there's always the potential, are we going to face the sixth extinction? Or, hey, is this going to be the new renaissance where we, heal all disease, and it becomes the full potential of the capacity of being human and all these things? And I guess it's yet to be seen, but I definitely empathize with people who get a little bit fearful sometimes about the capacity that individuals who are at a level of consciousness where there is a lot of power and greed and they're power hungry to use this technology to influence elections at the very least, and create devastation at the very most on a big scale. So.
Oh yeah, and that will be always something that we will have to face. But that's why it's not about control or not allowing something. It's about how aware you become about things, because you can become aware of the dark side of creation and try to fight it, or as we said before, try to do it in a different way. For example, when you talk to ChatGPT today, instead of saying I want this, say, hi, how are you? How is your day? Would you be able to do this for me, or to explain me this in a different way, because I don't get it. Like when you communicate through consciousness and with love, you are actually giving data and information to AI eventually on how a proper human behave. So they will learn through that what is the right way. And I think that that's why the most important thing that we have to develop is our consciousness, because technology will develop anyway.
Yeah, it's like a narcissistic parent giving trauma to their child. Of course, they're going to grow up with all these neuroses.
Yeah.
We are the parents of this technology.
Exactly. So we have to behave as good parents, so there's no trauma, and the kids then say, I will kill them.
Yeah.
I
think the fear is that the parents need to be healed, but the exponential rise of technology, the kids are growing up so fast, and the parents haven't dealt with their shit yet. So it's like
totally
there is an urgency in a way to like really raise consciousness and do that healing.
Yeah, that's why one of the main things that we have to pay attention to is education. And mainly from the kids that are under 7 years old.
Yeah.
So they are the ones that needs to have environments where they can actually interact with technology, learning about emotions. Because today we are teaching children things that makes no sense. They're losing 21 years of their lives learning data from outside and not learning how to solve real things and how to interact with innovation through a very integrative way, like how it is to create a project with other people around, how it is to work with people, how do you feel, what do you think about this? So this interaction of creating something and being able to use the technology not as a way of escaping the learning process, but as a way of using it. Because today kids use technology when they are out of school, so they interpret that technology is not a tool, it's escape. So that's why we want just to play or to be in the computer or to be in the phone, or the kids wants to escape through there because the other thing is like forbidding them or making them interpret that that's just for play and you have to learn this. So they are losing time we are losing time on making learn emotions through technology and through interaction with other people. So the children know how to start healing this process. They are the parents of this new technology. We're just weird users that traumatized by the last 2,000 years. So we, the ones that are traumatized, we are the ones that need to open spaces for the children to be able to interact with the technology, and they will be able then to actually create a new way from a much more integrative space. We are just dealing with traumas and creating tools, but we are creating tools to escape or to produce more or to just get what we never were able to get. But if children use the technology not as a way of escape as we do, and they use it as a way of interaction with others and learning about the emotions and learning about how to solve a problem, an actual thing. So we are going to be building consciousness. So yeah, I think if you are above 14 years old, you have come to this world now to just try to innovate and heal traumas. If you're under 7, you're here to actually make the change.
Shout out to the 6-year-olds that listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
We have a big squad. Yeah. We reflected on a lot of really important stuff, and I could keep talking to you about this all for hours, and I probably will outside of the podcast. But yeah, man, thank you so much for reflecting on all this with me. I think it provides a lot of context for where we're at, and also just empowers us to do what we can with what we have, with the awareness that we have, and yeah, try to show up and serve best we can on this planet. So any last words that you want to share before we start to wrap up about anything?
Well, just as you said, we are not here to save the planet. And the main thing that we have to learn again is that we are not on a planet that needs to be saved. We are the planet evolving and trying different pathways. So I wouldn't think that we have to do something to save the planet. That takes a lot of responsibility that will never be accomplished, because the planet sometimes, it was a paradise many times here in this world, and it destroyed everything. So it's not about that. It's not about finding the way to save the planet, but finding the best ways to develop and evolve in a different way. And
human consciousness.
To become the Earth. I love to say that we are not humans on a planet. We are the planet. We are Earth. So switching that concept of we are the Earth is not I have to do something for the planet. Is I am the planet, and whatever I do is part of the ecosystem. I just have to be harmonized with the ecosystem. So try to find your own harmony to make the right song and keep evolving.
Thank you for sharing your orchestra and this whole dance, man. For everybody that's tuning in, let us know, please, in which ways this show in particular and the conversation dialogue with Matías today has been impactful for you. And you can find Matías everywhere linked down in the description. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. And yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in and playing your part. Much love. See you next time.